of the country that we're looking at.
Okay, we've since been joined by Mr. Murtar Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed is a stockbroker. He's CEO of Finance with Murtar, and he's reaching us remotely today. You know, it happens now and again. Sometimes we're in the studio, sometimes it's remote. Good morning to you, Murtar.
Morning, Uncle Yorin. What a pleasure to be on your program today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, as always. You're on the program with Tunde Olatunji, finance and economic experts in the studio here. So let me ask you also the question. You've heard what I asked him, what he would prioritize. And it's actually, he's given me, you know, because of the nature of the question, it's not a simple answer. And I noticed, and you could comment on that if you want. I noticed that he was really using the title coordinating minister of the economy. He is the minister of finance and coordinating minister of the economy. And so that's said to me that, it goes beyond just being minister of finance the way we know it. So with that kind of a backdrop, if you agree, then what would you prioritize?
Thank you, and thank you. I mean, my colleagues in the studio, the Honorable. It's nice being with you too. Well, this is the second time I think we are having an Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. I mean, when it last happened, we saw how economy move, even if some people will say it moved slowly, but there was coordination, especially when you remember some of these stories that were flying around then. The minister was able to coordinate some of these activities. I think for the minister, what I see is that he has been behind the team for a while. He's one of the think tank of the administration before inauguration, and then after the inauguration. Not to forget that he was first of all made a special advisor on monetary policy. So he's been in there. So most of the decisions that have been taken by Mr. President were not taken without his knowledge. Maybe it could be the removal of subsidy, which the president said it's just something that he did himself, but at least subsidy was supposed to go whichever way, but maybe it would have been a different approach than what we are seeing now. So for me, I think he's the right man for the job. When you listen to him talk with some of his colleagues, I mean, when he took over in the Ministry of Finance, most of them were actually looking forward to work with him. So we no more have a treasurer. That's what I called the previous Minister of Finance, because what we know is he just come and tell us how much distributed, how this and that, and a lot of issues were there instead of telling us, what are the financial, the economy policy that was driven by a special advisor on the economy. And you know how our economy turned out to be. I think it's a good decision having him there as the Minister for Finance and Economic Planning. He's a seasonal economics, and I mean, you look at what he has done before. He's been in all the sectors. He's been in all the sectors.
Exactly. I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Murtar. Yes, I hear what you're saying. But setting, the tasks ahead of him. I, for instance, along with millions of Nigerians, don't want to pay as much as I am paying for a liter of fuel. But as as Tunji has just said, as Mr. Olatunji has just said, that will be dependent on the strength of the naira vis-a-vis the dollar.
Mukuyori, when you talk about the naira to the dollar, we need to be very, very patient. We are where we are today, not overnight, and we will not live where we are overnight. And we must know that forces are playing in this instance. Despite the forces of demand and supply that everybody is saying, there's also the forces that don't want this policy to work in terms that they've enjoyed it. So definitely, those are the speculators. So when you look at that, the major challenge with the current policy is in the area of supply, not giving demand, because demand will always be there. The supply side, and what are we supposed to do? When you look at supply, there are four major areas that we earn supply. We look at from Nigeria and the diaspora. We look at our sale of our crude oil. We look at foreign direct investors or portfolio investors, and we look at and trade. Now, as it stands now, when you look at all those areas, maybe the only area that is still very feasible is the area of remittance. But that remittance now have a challenge. And I think that is what he will need to coordinate with the central bank, because we have various apps now where Nigerians do their transfer to their Nigerians abroad. How are we going to work and coordinate those things to make sure that we have those dollars coming directly into our economy that will increase supply? Those are part of what he will work on. So there may be a synergy in that area with the CBN. When you look at crude oil, you know that is beyond him. That has to do with security. The government need to think about how to improve upon that so that we can have security, so that we can begin to meet even our OPEC output. When you look at foreign direct investors and portfolio investors, none of them will come now because you've not achieved stability. So you must achieve stability so that when I'm coming in, and I'm coming in at a rate, I might be going out that rate, and even if the difference in going out will not be as wide as what it is now because of the volatility. Okay. So he needs to work on that. If he's able to get that, remember now, you know, in your program, I always say the challenge we have with the previous administration is that it seems to be that the CBN became both monetary and physical side. The physical side was non-existent. But now I believe that with Wale Edu, we will see the physical side comes up with policy that will work in synergy with the monetary policy. But people should understand that it's always very difficult for monetary policy and fiscal policy to have the same agenda. So your agenda as a fiscal policy is to make sure that your people, especially employment, trade, businessmen, are able to enjoy relative, maybe not too much stability, but their business are able to strive forward with some of your policy. Now, the physical side, the monetary side is just there to make sure that they do what they have to do. That's why we have the independence of the CBN. So we will not see that, like my colleague in the city is saying that, oh, he may have to talk to CBN. As a coordinating minister, you should not forget that the CBN is independent. He will need to do what he ought to do, and the CBN will not do what they ought to do. Once you do what you have to do, the physical side do what he has to do, then you see that synergy naturally comes to play. Indeed. And the economy will benefit from it. But when the physical side is the one directly intervening, monetary side is directly intervening in physical side is indirectly intervening in monetary side, there will not be synergy, and then you see the economy crumbling little by little. So for me, I think he has started at the right note. He has set up his agenda of we must make sure we have this and that. But we must know as Nigerians that he has no control over the exchange rate. That is the monetary side. He needs to do the physical side that will generally bring trade down. And when you talk about physical side, what are those things he needs to do? He needs to look at the cost of doing business. He needs to begin to talk about how he can rejig the economy, because we are not having the type of investors we want to have that will come there to stay. And those things are not something that he will just achieve overnight. All right. There will be a lot of policy, and sometimes a lot of suffering.
Thank you very much, Murtar. In fact, it's just as well that you...